Hello, my name is Marco Rodriguez, and I'll be presenting the animal cell model. Alright, before we get started, what makes an animal cell differ from the plant cell and a bacteria cell? The main difference between animal cells and plant cells is that number one, plant cells have cell walls. Number two, they have one central large vacuole. And number three, they have a chloroplast. Now, the difference between a plant cell and a bacteria is that an animal cell is a eukaryotic and a bacteria cell is a prokaryotic. What is the difference? Prokaryotic is pretty much has no nucleus, while a eukaryotic has a nucleus. For this project, I was able to make an animal cell through different types of candies like Ritz Rolls, M&M's, Skittles, different types of sour gummies, and even gelatin. Now, the first structure I do want to talk about is probably one of the most important ones and the most recognizable one out of the entire cell, and that's the nucleus. The function of the nucleus is that it stores DNA, and that's one of the most primary functions for the nucleus. The nucleus is also able to distribute and direct cell activities. Now, the second piece I do want to talk about is actually inside the nucleus, and that's the nucleolus. Nucleolus is responsible for making more ribosomes and helps with protein synthesis, or in general, build up proteins. Now, the third piece I do want to talk about this animal cell is that the cell membrane. The cell membrane is actually very important. It pretty much is the one that protects the entirety of the cell, and it is the part of the cell that actually controls what enters through the cell and what comes out of it, maintaining homeostasis. The fourth structure is the cytoplasm. It is a gel-like substance that holds all the organelles together and allows for inner movements. Now, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Now, what does powerhouse of the cell mean? It's not the strongest. It doesn't mean that it's the one that's the biggest. It's actually the one who produces the most energy. That's why it's called the powerhouse of the cell, because it includes cellular respiration. Now, the next one I do want to talk about is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, also known as the rough ER. And it's actually covered extremely by ribosomes. That's why it's so thick, and it has this like structure into the cell, to the animal cell. Pretty sure the plant cell also has this one, and pretty much just produces and transports proteins. Now, I do want to talk about the little sister of the rough ER, and this one's called the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And this one lacks ribosomes, makes lipids, and helps detoxify harmful substances. This next organelle structure is probably one of my favorites because I like the way it looks, and it's pretty much the Golgi apparatus. It packages, modifies, and distributes proteins and lipids for their proper destinations, which is absolutely good for the cell. Next are the ribosomes, probably one of the most smallest organelles in the entire animal cell, and they're pretty much just tiny structures that build proteins by linking amino acids. Now, the next are the lysosomes, which actually is considered as the garbage can or the trash can of the cell. It pretty much breaks down waste, old organelles, and foreign invaders using enzymes. And last but not least is the centrosomes. The centrosomes organize microtubules and also helps in cell division by forming the spindle fibers.